occasions that when the American public became disillusioned with Republicans ushering in the New World Order, that they would put Bill Clinton in as a Democrat to make people think there was some kind of change going on in this country, when in fact there was no change at all. Their agendas are exactly the same. And they were discussing this and laughing at how they were going to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. I was appalled to see Bill Clinton go into the office of president. And I know that Bill Clinton is following orders, as always, from George Bush and carrying out his orders of the rose. It was also at this Lampe, Missouri compound that I was sexually assaulted by Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton both are considered to be bisexual, but it was my experience, although my experience with Bill Clinton sexually was extremely limited, I witnessed him involved in homosexual activity on several occasions, one being with my mind control handler, Alex Houston. Hillary Clinton was interested in the fact that I had been vaginally carved and mutilated. This was of interest to her. She thought it was absolutely fascinating. It was something that Senator Byrd had done in the early 80s to fulfill certain perversions and also to be used in pornography, particularly pornography by the White House chief pornographer, or by Reagan's chief pornographer, Larry Flynt, who has Hustler magazine. You'll notice that Larry Flynt uses CIA mind-controlled slaves in the pages of his filth magazines. And these girls are all electrically prodded, and it's very obvious to those with eyes to see exactly the tortures that these girls have endured and the fact that they are not in control of their own thoughts, their own mind, their own lives, and their own actions. But Hillary thought it was real interesting, so not only that, but I also heard her say at that time that I was considered to be clean, free of any social diseases because I was a presidential model. It was ironic that I carried out specific criminal covert operations throughout the Caribbean, including Haiti, which had been infested with the AIDS virus. And I would go directly from Haiti right back to the White House, and there was absolutely no protection used. They all knew that there was no risk. For whatever reason, certainly raises questions, nevertheless. It was Hillary that sexually assaulted me in Lampe, Missouri. There are many different operations that I was forced to carry out as a CIA mind control slave. These operations are detailed in our book, Transformation of America. Transformation of America is substantiated with sufficient documentation, witnesses, and testimony that we are certainly ready for any congressional hearings into the matter, because we've been stopped from any justice so far for reasons of national security. We want to overcome that. Hopefully, this book is going to incite someone to take action against exactly what's going on. And if for no other purpose, it will open the eyes of the American public to exactly who and what is running our country and for what purposes. And it makes a whole lot of what we're seeing going on in our society suddenly makes sense. Some of the details that are in our book, Transformation of America, include the fact that Senator Byrd has an underdeveloped penis. It's a little tiny, tiny thing, and no matter what he does, he can't change that fact any more than I can change the fact that I'm vaginally mutilated. And the details that are provided in the book are evidence in themselves, because these guys can't change it. They can't change their physical anatomy. I also described in photographic detail Dick Cheney's Pentagon office or his little bedroom area that he referred to as the bunkhouse. There's no way that anyone should have known this information because I was not supposed to have been in there, but nevertheless I was. I also know what kind of sheets Ronald Reagan has on his bed. They're flannel sheets, light blue flannel sheets, LL Bean. I have a lot of details in there that are irrefutable, and a lot of people are fully well aware of already. There's a lot of information there pertaining to NAFTA. I was used to implement the groundwork for NAFTA between Reagan, De La Madrid, under the orders of George Bush. It was my understanding that De La Madrid was more or less a figurehead in Mexico the same way Reagan was here, with the vice president of Mexico actually running the country, and that vice president at the time was Salinas. I delivered messages to and from them, was prostituted to De La Madrid on numerous occasions, and the opening of the Mexican-Juarez border for the groundwork of NAFTA was actually the opening of free trade of drugs into this country and free trade of our nation's children across the border. I was also involved in drug operations, the CIA's so-called war on drugs. It's my experience that the only war on drugs was the CIA eliminating their competition. And the war was taken to our streets and has turned our streets into a bloodbath over drugs that the CIA has brought in. Another operation that I was privy to was the Global Education 2000 program. I am deeply disturbed at what's being done to our children, and there's an enormous movement across this country to take back our schools because people are sending their children to schools and don't recognize them when they come back out. This global education project was something that I was also involved in delivering messages to all the state governors under the direction of then Secretary of Education Bill Bennett, who incidentally makes it very clear that he is a Jesuit. And his so-called Book of Virtues is the little shield that he's masquerading under and hiding his criminal activity under. But nevertheless, Bill Bennett was heavily involved in bringing mind control into the school system. It's interesting to note, too, that Bill Bennett later went on to become George Bush's so-called drug czar. I also, in my work with that I was forced to carry out for this global education project, I was involved with former Tennessee Governor Lamar Alexander. Lamar Alexander later went on to become an education secretary. Look what he's done to our school system. I know for a fact since 1977, when I was subjected to an occult ritual in Nashville, Tennessee, that Lamar Alexander believes in using Satanism as a trauma base for mind control. And now Lamar Alexander's vying for the office of president. One person that I had become friends with over the years, although as a mind-controlled slave, I couldn't think for myself, and I couldn't think to make any friends, and I had this obnoxious cover personality that really kept people at a distance. I acted like an airhead, you know, and which was really somehow fitting when I had my handler was so much older than I was, and we were traveling the country music industry. People just assume that's the way things should be. Well, nevertheless, I developed a friendship with one girl that I had been traumatized with. This friendship was one that was derived from having endured severe trauma together, mind control programming at Youngstown Charm School, where U.S. Congressman Jim Trafficant decided when girls had learned their lessons sexually and could leave that torturous place. But this girl and I had become friends, and I'm deeply concerned for her welfare as well as the welfare of so many, many others that I know are still involved, as well as my own brothers and sisters. This girl was the mind control slave of another presidential candidate, Arlen Specter. Arlen Specter, like Gerald Ford, was involved in the Warren Commission, and he's also involved in mind control and firmly believes in mind control of the masses. These different operations that I was forced to participate in was something that I never would have done had I had my own free will. But I'd lost my free will until I was deprogrammed. In 1988, M.Phillips rescued Kelly and I from our mind control existence. As he stated, Kelly went into the hospital with respiratory failure because when she felt safe for the first time in the safety and serenity of Alaska, the memories of what she had endured began flooding her mind. And as quickly as that happened, she went into respiratory failure and went into the intensive care unit. In Alaska, she was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder with high-tech mind control programming. Nevertheless, the state of Tennessee took custody of Kelly through a series of elaborate events. And when they took custody of her, they refused to accept any documentation from outside the state of Tennessee. They claim that there's nothing wrong with her and have denied her rehabilitation due to who and what she would remember were she allowed to be rehabilitated. Kelly remains a political prisoner in the custody of the state of Tennessee. She knows that I didn't contribute to her abuse. She knows that I couldn't prevent her abuse due to my own victimization. And we have a close, loving relationship that goes, I think, even significantly beyond a mother-daughter relationship, because we've also got that kind that people tend to develop when they've been through severe trauma together. We've got a unique bond, and we have a deep understanding. And she's counting on me now to be a mouthpiece for her and to get the word out on mind control so that she's understood and so that she's freed from her continued victimization by the state of Tennessee. M.Phillips taught me the ins and outs of my own mind as my memories too began flashing. I learned to journal them, to write them out. The very act of writing bypassed the emotional and put them into a logical sense where I could actually begin retrieving the exact memories of what had happened during those years. It was only through this method that I was able to deprogram the program first. This was the only way that I was able to circumvent that scramble of fantasy and reality. That was how I learned that when I heard one of my abusers saying, "I am an alien, I will make my thoughts your thoughts," that I was able to logically question and reason for the first time and say, why didn't he just do it? Why did he have to tell me that he was going to make his thoughts my thoughts? Obviously, it was a manipulation technique. And I learned to see through the illusions that were created. When I learned to see through the illusions, I learned this is within my realm to affect. Nevertheless, I was furious, absolutely furious over what had been done to my daughter and I both. I really couldn't think of anything that would be vile enough and horrible enough to do back to any of our abusers that would make up for what they'd done to us. There was no way to do that. And M.Phillips wisely told me at that time, he said, The greatest revenge is total recovery. And he said the mightiest weapon is the pen. And he gave me a pen. That was the second gift. The first gift he ever gave me was the time of day. Because I didn't even know what year it was. I didn't know how old I was. I had no ability to keep track of time since I had no conscious awareness under mind control. And he presented me with a watch. And he said, from now on, I'd better be keeping track of time. That way, I would learn to notice when and if any was missing. And I learned to take control of my life at that point. So I used this power of the pen to write out all my memories in photographic detail of exactly what happened to my daughter and I both. The ones that have been absolutely validated and are ready for congressional hearing are in our book, Transformation of America. And it details this world domination effort through mind control of the masses. As I wrote out these memories, I was able to use a lot of logic to deal with the reality of what had happened. I feel extremely fortunate not only to have survived my mind control ordeal, but that M.Phillips had the expertise to help me recover my mind and my memory. In the process, I gained control over my own mind again. By gaining control over my own mind, I had free will. I could carry out exactly what I wanted to do. By having my God-given free will back, I was able to reconnect with my spirituality. I'd been separated from my spirituality for all those years under mind control. Although I couldn't reach the spirituality, neither could they. That's why they never considered the strength of the human spirit. They're unable to touch it. They cannot reach it, even through absolute, total, robotic, traumatic mind control. They cannot affect the human spirit because of the God-given free will. That's kind of somewhere a boundary in between and has it twice removed. So I regained my ability to think for myself. I regained my memory. I gained control over my own mind and life, my actions, and I was able to exhibit and actually live my own free will, my own spirituality, which was absolutely, no question about it, harmoniously tuned to God's will. This spirituality also is something that I believe gave me the ability to have emotions again and to care and to realize that good people do exist and that good people are not going to tolerate what's been going on. My abusers often said that they were counting on good people to do nothing because they knew good people could not think to look beyond the smoke and mirrors illusions to the criminal activity that was going on behind the scenes. Because good people don't think criminally. They just don't think to look for it. So by revealing the secrets that they've been keeping from us under this blanket of so-called national security, we are able to gain control over our lives once again. It is truth that sets us free. They've been operating on the belief that secret knowledge equals power. Once we have control of those secrets, their power diminishes. Knowledge is our only defense against mind control. When we know exactly who and what we're up against, we can no longer be deliberately diverted to other aspects of what they're claiming is the problem. which has actually been dividing us all with the hate crimes that they keep bringing up in front of us, and they keep pointing all different directions as to what the problem is. The fact of the matter is the problem is they're ushering in the New World Order by manipulating our minds. Now, united with the facts and the truth, we can clearly see exactly what's been happening to our country and our world, and we can effectively take back our schools, take back our churches, take back our streets, take back our country, and take back our world. Please spread the word. Thank you.
We appreciate you all tonight being here. I promised Cathy that we would live long enough to see this day. Now, tomorrow, we've got a workshop, and it'll give us the opportunity to answer any individual questions and really reach a depth of understanding of the various types of mind control and mind manipulation. I do come out of the advertising marketing world, so I can tell you about those real easy. Well, all you got to do is look at a perfume ad, an automobile ad, preferably Lexus, or a Marine Corps ad, and you can see the ultimate in subliminal advertising. But we would like very much to have the opportunity to address your questions, because this is too short a period of time to cover all the material necessary. We just wanted to give you a basis of understanding of what's going on out there. You folks, I hope you're enjoying this as much as we are, this Congress, and having it all brought together in one place. We hope to see this again another day, another time. Thank you. Good night.